so not wanting to give that one over. However, with the Scion being taken away, Victor and Orianna also off the board. Wukong is first picked. I think Wukong and Jarvan are the two strongest junglers on this patch, and Wukong with Xin, Vi, Jarvan, Maokai off the board, looking very delectable in this game 3.
Definitely the strongest jungler that you can get your hands on here. If Luminosity Gaming wanted to match anything, I don't know.
Pantheon time.
Yeah, Pantheon time for Tomio. But I do like Sejuani just being able to tango with something like a Wukong, because you do not need to get aggressive or involved with the lanes as early on into a Wukong, since pre-level 6 Wukong has no access to CC. He can fight, but he is relying on his lanes to set up things for him, and eXyu would rather try and focus on farming to level 6, where he can get that powerful ultimate in the Cyclone available.
I mean, Sejuani is going to be your bridge for the Sivir, and Sivir in this game, again, looking like there are some good options. At least there's no Zeri or Xayah or Kai'Sa to respond, and no Corki either. So I think a lot of power for Sivir as well. No Alistar to play into the Sivir either. As Sejuani going to try and be that bridge for the Sivir later on.
DSG at least layering some extra CC with Huhi on the Rell duty, and a Yunara locked in for Rahel.
Insta Renekton too for FakeGod, so expecting a Jax ban as Cassante already off the board. Can't defend against that Renekton Sejuani combo up there. So a very strong top side to try and scale Sivir into the rest of the game. I think that with Yunara, important to be bursty, because as Yunara's kind of evolved, your power comes from being in your ult form, right? The transcendent state. So what can you do to, you know, continue to help Yunara be bursty? I think Wukong and Rell are really good starts. I just am concerned because, you know, you'd like a Galio on either team this game, and I don't think that Galio is going to have great value here for Disguised against something like a Renekton, who can really, you know, he wants to have melees in the game. Renekton benefits off that, given his empowered abilities and stacking up that Fury much better against the melees.
And DSG continuing to put respect on Insanity's name with the LeBlanc ban. I imagine that maybe they might look at that Akali as the next one to get rid of for this Game 3 draft. As you called it, Matt, Jax taken off the board from Castle.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's the defensive picks against Sejuani, Renekton. It's those two, or Cassante and the Jax, so might as well take away Jax when Cassante's missing. I'm curious to see what Castle goes for, because frankly, it's looking like he's just going to be relegated to Ornn. But not the best game for it.
Ooh.
Or at least a tough game.
Not the Akali. It's Renata ban. Just trying to take away some disengage options from Zeyzal, and the fact that you already have a tank in Tomio does give Zeyzal a little bit of flexibility in what kind of champion archetype he would pilot alongside Tactical Sivir. Or just another tank.
It's making Treads pretty nice for Disguise, but Treads against the Sivir team, it kind of increases the power of the Sivir in a way. As Rahel's cracking a bit of a smile. Oh, okay, it is going to be the Aatrox into the Sejuani Renekton. I mean, I like Aatrox in this game. I think that if you can make Sivir's life hard to auto-attack, it's good. Aatrox can help with that, but Aatrox can get put out of this game quite early by the Renekton plus the Sejuani. So with Hwei coming in, Darkwings is going to take an Artillery Mage for himself and just try and maximize the damage. I mean, Blackfire Torch on Hwei against this very low-range composition for LG could be quite nice. I was curious what Insanity can actually grab, and he doesn't want to go for Syndra this game. I think there's some real value for Syndra against Aatrox, Hwei, and Yunara. But this would be one way to really make that Sivir a hyper carry if we wanted to get weird. Okay, not going to be Morgana, going to be the Cassio.
Yep.
I think this is a nice call. I feel like we're really committing to a low-range composition here for LG. I know that Sivir's ult's going to help out, but you're kind of assuming you're just going to tank up the Hwei. But that's... I don't know if I love that one.
I will say, I think I prefer it over the Morgana because it at least gives you two hyper carries that you can rely on for later stages of the game. I will concur with you that range is kind of at a premium for DSG just off of the fact that Darkwings can space both the threats of Cassiopeia and Sivir with those severing bolts. So The onus is on Luminosity Gaming to get to objectives first so that it forces DSG to walk into them and play into the identity of Sivir Cassiopeia.
I think it puts a lot of importance for Disguise to set Castle up for a decent game early too, because if Aatrox gets behind, Cassio can beat Aatrox in the side lane pretty heavily as well.
Yeah.
Because like Miasma, you just start chaining the QEs, and if you get the move speed buff, and you know Cassio picks up move speed as the game goes on, because no boots, haha, it's a snake. I do think it's an option where you can have a very positive matchup into Castle for the majority of this game if you set that Aatrox behind. So curious where Tomio goes early. Sejuani synergizes so well with that Renekton, and you can really attack the Aatrox early, which I think would be great for LG's game.
Well, here we go. Let's see who is able to move up to match point in our Game 3 of the Grand Finals between Luminosity and Disguise. Time to hit the rift.
Seconds until minions spawn.
Nothing too weird showing off the bat. Is going to be that Conqueror for Insanity, not a Phase Rush. As you do have some options. I don't know what Phase Rush would exactly get you out of here, though. I think Conqueror is fine, because you're likely going to have to use that Petrifying Gaze to try and slow down a Wukong, slow down a Rell, and that engage, but this is a curious
Things could get a little dicey here. Darkwings, I think Darkwings is in trouble.
He started E.
Okay, he takes some damage on the way out. Will be forced to recall, but might not have enough time because it's already past the window. So yeah, he's going to walk into lane or be in lane with 50% HP, already forced to chug some pots.
He's going to stick with it. So kind of a cute little setup there by LG, as we are going to see Tomio start on the top side. So going to be working towards that Sivir. Of course, with that Renekton and Aatrox, I mean, you have the option to play away from it. I just think playing towards it, again, you can get so much against Aatrox early on. I think really setting that champion behind, there is value. As Renekton, definitely a champion that FakeGod does play very well. So, see if he can handle himself in isolation, as both junglers working their way down to try and interact with this Sivir Yunara lane and the two hyper carries that each team are fielding there.
Really aggressive trading from Insanity onto Darkwings this way, level 1, and now that he's hit level 2, unfortunately for Mr. Isaac in the mid lane, he cannot dare to step up and challenge, as Insanity can just, hold that aggressive position in front of the caster minions. There's nothing that Darkwings can do but just wait.
Got his Q now. Was zoned off of XP, though, for one creep, so small advantage for Insanity, just given the fact that Darkwings did have to start that E. As both of our junglers on the cross. And I will say that interactions bot early on, I will give it to the Sejuani Leona team. I feel like that's going to be the team that's advantaged for some of these early trades, if we do have a 3v3 skirmish down bot. So I think that it would be best for DSG to just kind of play the wave and play to maybe mess with Tomio instead of playing for this 3v3, in which I think it is very LG favored.
Good defensive ward from Insanity can at least cover that mid-river entrance. Oh, Rahel's in trouble. Forced to pop the summoner heals. Zeyzal flashing right on top to guarantee the kill play, and Rahel's not going to even burn his flash. That's first blood going over to Tactical. Sivir here at 3 minutes, and it could be more. Huhi forced to flash away, gets out alive, but Luminosity's bot lane off to a great start.
Huhi was on a warding mission, and Zeyzal and Tactical strike as they get Rahel. Really good flashes coming out from both Zeyzal and Tactical, as they are able to make sure that Rahel falls, and that's a big advantage to Tactical, who does get that first blood. We'll see if he goes for a Cole or gonna get a Cole and change, so item advantage in the bot lane, and a good start for LG.
One of the things that we were looking at in this best of 5 was Rahel leveraged against Tactical, and we know that DSG had consistently been able to play through empowering Rahel in the later team fights, but if Tactical and Zeyzal are able to get a pretty sizable early game lead against this guy and prevent him from coming online, well, this is a great way to be in if you are Luminosity Gaming.
Just really good flashes from both Tactical and Zeyzal to take advantage of that Q cooldown being 5 seconds base level 1 for Leona, or just 5 seconds base cooldown. I mean, there's a lot of power in Leona early on just because you get that stun so much more often. And Tactical with a beautiful flash as well. Get out of the CC, guarantee the kill, and hot start here for the LG bot lane. And Tomio, I mean, just going to continue to path into it. it is eXyu that is going to go for the super clear early on and is going to try and sprint towards that Trinity Force. That is when Wukong can get very powerful. We have seen him just be a very oppressive jungler when he does get ahead. But man, this start, I mean, you got the hyper carry in the Sivir set up like this. That's everything that you could possibly ask for if you're LG.
The funny thing is that Rahel still has a sizable CS advantage over Tactical, but it was a big wave stacking up into the Sivir. Looks like they're trying to take a base now. Rahel being able to push in that big wave, able to get a quick cheater recall in so that he can match Tactical in terms of components. Tomio, is he going to face check into Huhi? He's on top of a control ward, so he knows that this is happening, and the Q stun goes wide. Tomio going to see if he can pressure this further, but eXyu is right behind him, so Tomio's going to back off for now.
They probably get the control board after that if they want it, but they did have Rahel actually swap over to the top side during this, so Luminosity have the option to have a numbers advantage at this dragon if they want to take it, as they will TP castle bot and pull off a swap, which does buy Rahel, I mean, a little bit of time. He's behind a wee bit in that lane in the 1v1, or at least in items. And I think that they're just doing this to pick up waves, and they're going to give away the dragon. I feel like they saw that one coming anyway, so might as well get Rahel some free time up top and see if you can, you know, play all the waves you can while you give this one up. So I still think that the Skies, they've done a nice job of committing to when they are giving something up. Try and maximize what they're getting on the opposite side of the map. I feel like that has been a consistent of the Skies plays in this tournament, and definitely one that helped them get to the grand finals through that upper bracket.
It's a big wave that is stacked up on the top tier 1, but I don't think FakeGod is in any danger whatsoever. eXyu is not level 6, and FakeGod with dominance does make Renekton one of the more fearful champions of trying to dive cleanly, especially if he still has a flash on top of it as well. So
I'm curious if they get out of this formation now, because Dominus steel caps Renekton cannot be moved. And Castle, I mean, with the item break point that he's on, because it looks like he's going to rush that Sundered Sky, he could be moved.
Oh,
he even got the auto down. League of Legends at its best, you know?
Yeah. The BM
Game
thumbs up emote also thrown up too. Tactical knew that he was already out of there. We got Grub spawning in less than a minute here, Matt. Already, Luminosity Gaming trying to shift their strongest side of the map back towards that top side. FakeGod will not have teleport for the play, so... But with Disguise sending Rahel to the bottom side of the map, does this give Luminosity an advantage in being able to secure grubs for themselves here?
I mean, they could be playing to play out of this too. And I think this is some of the power sometimes of, you know, champion like Renekton and this Sejuani combo. Like, yes, Sivir needs some time to scale, but Renekton is so oppressive at this time of the game around the grub fight. It does seem like Disguised are at least trioing the grubs down, because, yeah, I mean, Huhi just took a reset. He does have TP, but he's walking bot right now to make sure they don't dive Rahel, and this means that grub's likely just going to be given over. I do think that Disguised has good wave clear. Yunara Hwei is pretty solid wave clear, so you can afford to give these over, but we really saw throughout the domestic playoffs being played, pretty much every team globally put a bigger priority on grubs than dragon, because the grubs you can use the next 5 minutes of play to take plates for yourself, and that can give you a pretty big advantage going into the mid game. Now seeing LG take both the grubs and the dragon, as this guys have opted to trade out, trade down to get gold on anything and everything. Just respecting the strength of LG's comp at this stage of the game.
And it's a bit of a flip of the script from what we saw from DSG in Game 1 of this series, where they were the ones that had pretty much taken every single objective of the game from Luminosity. Now, for their credit, DSG do have some strong champions that will spike later on into the game. And I imagine that the call for DSG is, let's not get too crazy early on. Let's just play a cleaner game, farm up, and we'll let our spikes and hands do the talking at the right moments.
I mean, look, whenever Sivir's in the game, I think that Sivir is such a game-warping champion in her ability to not just be the late-game hyper carry, but also you got to make sure she's able to auto-attack. That's where a lot of her strength comes from. And I think this is a difficult game for Sivir to auto-attack in. You're going up against a Hwei who has a lot of different choices in order to make it tough for you to auto, whether that's laying down slow fields or you got to avoid the claw, which is really tough as Sivir sometimes. You also are going up against a Yunara that's going to be bursty. Aatrox, I mean, all those Q sweet spots are potential knockups that you either have to spell shield or could get chain CC'd off of. And then Wukong Rell might be some of the best snap engage you can find into Sivir. I mean, you can only spell shield one of these things. So, yeah, I think that if Disguise can find angles and execute, it should be difficult for Sivir to auto-attack in this game. And that could really warp the game in favor of Disguise. But at the moment, they're the ones that have at least opted out of everything, as they try and buy time for the Hwei and the Wukong to get to a better spot that they like to fight.
Yep, DSG clearly prioritizing just trying to get as much gold for them as possible and accelerate those first item spikes. Blackfire Torch already picked up for Darkwings in the mid lane. See on your board, that Tactical does have the most gold in the game, but then matched by both of the solo laners for DSG as the priority in just making sure they are getting their farm and accelerating themselves as fast as possible is the main focus. We are about 50 seconds away from the second dragon spawning. Do DSG favor themselves taking that fight as, okay, well, that one goes wide.
Darkwings did not dodge. Tomio guessed the dodge. Darkwings just walked down and down smashed his way out of that one. As that goes wide. And I will also say, I mean, Castle and Darkwings, they not only have the most gold, but they are at much better item spikes at the moment. So DSG waiting for everything. We have a real window now where if you are Disguised, you're up a torch on a very delayed Roa, especially given that Insanity is going tier and is down, just given the lane matchup. And then FakeGod also delayed himself to pick up that Executioner's Calling, which, hey, that has value into both Wukong and Aatrox for sure, but that delays your first item that can be so important on Renekton. So yeah, if I'm Disguised, I think I'm looking for something on this timer.
And especially if Tomio does not have that ultimate on the Sejuani anymore, that's one of your main engage tools that's gone. You're pretty much relying on Tactical and Zeyzal to get things started, but once again, DSG taking their time and farming up, and they are pretty much giving this dragon away.
They're given. That will be the first aspect of feats secured by Luminosity Gaming.
Okay.
They have 3 neutral objectives.
I like this.
I mean, if you can starve out FakeGod a little bit, it's something. But, Castle.
Magma Storm is going to pull him in. FakeGod still has a double slice and dice and a flash. eXyu holding on to that Cyclone for now. Zeyzal now committing to the top side of the play as he just tries to rush into the safety of that tier 1 turret. They've killed a majority of the wave. Tomio has successfully taken the second dragon of the game and now moves to try and threaten Rahel's Yunara. Glacial Prison is about to come off cooldown, but a TP is coming in from the Aatrox. Castle is going to try to bail out Rahel as soon as possible because it's another TP coming in as well. Castle pops the World Ender. They're going to have to turn on to FakeGod. No Dominus, no problem. That's the Predator's stun. And Luminosity Gaming walk out with a dead Yunara on the heels of the foot.
Good clicks from Tactical, too, as he was able to get out of the sweet spots from Castle, and that idea from Disguise neutralized by a TP from FakeGod. And that Renekton, who despite being down, that first completed item, I mean, still the stronger champion at this point of the game, and that TP put him right on top of Rahel, who, well, he got the cleanse off and not the flash, so falls to the croc. Another kill for LG, and in the back half of that, we have Tomio still waiting around. Darkwings
He's
has
got Glacial Prison back up. He's got his ultimate back up. He's just waiting for the right time. Maybe waiting for a spell to be used by Darkwings. There's the Maw. There's no more fear. But Tomio doesn't bite yet. He's waiting for Zeyzal. He's waiting for the guaranteed numbers advantage as Huhi also shows up to the play. That can make things dicey.
I don't like this much anymore. I think the 2v1 is better than the 3v2. And Tactical did take some poke from this, but Darkwings is really far off.
Glacial Prison, dead center, right onto Darkwings. No chance to try and flash that one. Luminosity Gaming pick up the feat of warfare.
And eXyu got really nothing off that. Like, yeah, Tomio's not farming, but hey, you're a Sejuani. That's fine. eXyu's going to come play defense on the bot wave. It's a 3-grub Sivir. It got another wave of free time as they shut down Rahel. They get another kill onto Darkwings. That's both carries removed. As LG, I think, very happy with that one as they now have a small gold lead for themselves.
You're a little reserved about the play, but patience is rewarded for Tomio. And I don't know, Matt. Even if you do flash the Glacial Prison, I don't think you're getting out of that one. So that's just great patience and great timing from Luminosity Gaming.
Hey, Tomio rewarded for staying in that spot for a few minutes, like, you know, extra wave or two longer. As, you know, no shock needed for the Dog Jungler to do his job there. Good play from Tomio to make sure that he is able to stick around and take Darkwings out. I was curious what Darkwings is going for next with the items. I'm wondering if it's going to be... I mean, the Blasting Wand there... Is it going to be a Horizon Focus look, maybe?
Maybe.
On the Hwei, yeah.
Yeah, Blasting Wand and double Phoenix Codex.
Yeah.
Could be the play. It's a big stat stick, and it at least gives you some small utility. Although the stats on it is really the appealing factor, and it being significantly cheaper than it was before. Tomio trying to round off the entrance route as Insanity finds a nice miasma in the Petrifying Gaze flank. Darkwings could not flash out of that one since he was grounded, and the rest of Luminosity Gaming continuing to accelerate the pace of this game.
Great look from the Cassio. Again, talked about the range advantage, but if you break it like that, as Insanity did, a beautiful miasma, no chance the Darkwings could get out of that. Now, he has a TP, so if Disguise can stall, they might be able to play this.
He does stun up Tomio. eXyu. We have yet to see him make a play this entire game. Has not popped the Cyclone once, but he is fully farmed up. Trinity Force and Merc Treads. Can he make the difference here? But Tomio secures the Rift Herald and will walk out with the eye. The flash from FakeGod gets away as eXyu sends it with the Cyclone. Two-man flash over the wall. Zeyzal is the first one to fall as Castle finally gets the shutdown on top of Tactical. Tomio's got nowhere else to run, snagged by the Infernal Chains, and Castle's Aatrox has finally arrived to Summoner's Rift.
Luminosity Gaming burned tools to get Darkwings down first in the fight, but they didn't have the tools to take the fight after the Rift, as Insanity will fall too. He's no flash. Goodbye, Insanity. Disguise wipes LG after the Rift Herald and gets the gold lead back in their favor.
DSG, they were waiting for their time to strike, and despite all of the early moves that Luminosity Gaming made for the past 15 minutes, at that Rift Herald, they don't even need to secure the objective. They play for the fight afterwards, and now DSG have the momentum on their side.
Hey, we called it out early, right? The stall. Darkwings had a TP up, and I want to credit Castle on how we played the top side of that fight into FakeGod. Again, talked about the item advantage that Castle had. Look at FakeGod post-dominance. Him and Huhi have a really good engage. They get him off to the side. He can't be the one that's frontlining and holding the door. And eXyu, I mean, the double Cyclone there, that did look like Sexyu, as that was pretty nice coming out from Lawrence. Able to find very big play on the Luminosity Gaming as he got 3 men in the Cyclone. And Luminosity Gaming, they got Tornado out of this one as Insanity, yeah, already burning the flash, so this snake can't slither on out, and Darkwings and DSG going to take the win.
Luminosity Gaming trying to see if they can blitz this third dragon without a response from DSG. Looks like that's going to be the case. Rest of Disguise already sending up Castle to the top side of the map. It was a teleport invested from FakeGod just to guarantee that this objective goes into their hands, but that means that no one's going to have a chance to respond to this wave pushing in from Castle super promptly. It is now FakeGod recalling just to catch the wave.
You know, I feel like that was a missed opportunity from Toad, because his nickname of eXyu's old teammate Philip was Felipe Sexo. I feel like that could have been the best topside in history, by the way. Which is the funniest nickname of all time, too. Shout out to Philip, who was at LTA Finals. And
shout out to Philip and shout out to Toad, one of our awesome co-streamers who always comes up with some of the most awesome nicknames. I remember El Mago for Spica, I think was another fond one of mine. It might have been El Genio. One of those two. Anyway, back to this grand finals. DSG definitely cooking up a nice gold advantage for themselves, despite Luminosity Gaming now being on sole point. But given that DSG have been very disciplined in prioritizing their farm and their overall power in items, I think they're going to be in a good spot when we get to that sole point fight. And it might be one that Luminosity Gaming are threatened to not even challenge.
Yeah, I mean, my concern right now is just the top lane item differential with Castle having that Sterax so accelerated. FakeGod has some gold in his inventory, but no components that can build to something like a Sterax. And I like the Shojin first. Look, I mean, I think this item is very strong, very good on Renekton specifically. But I'm not sure if he can frontline effectively enough with that Shojin and no Sterax. As Darkwing's going to do his best to clear the wave, but not going to be enough. Luminosity Gaming does take that one down. as it's Otacon control being postured over, and I don't think LG has much left in the tank after this, so I think they're going to need a reset before this Otacon spawns.
They have defensive tools in case DSG try to engage, but they definitely don't want to start a fight on their own terms, as Castle promptly bouncing back and forth between the top side as well as the mid lane to just continuously pressure onto these second-tier turrets, forcing FakeGod to respawn. FakeGod still doesn't have a teleport for quite some time, where it is Castle that still has that summoner spell available, and he's just bouncing waves back and forth, Matt. I mean, he's getting more farm for himself. He's continuing to put pressure on Luminosity.
In the Azir game that Darkwings played against, I believe it was LG, they did a really nice job of stalling out the game. It was the game 2. Around the Otacon. Like, they were behind a little bit. They kind of postured the Otacon like this, but bought time for their solo lanes to get gold back. I don't think DSG is pressured to hit this or do this. I think that they'd like to get it before the dragon spawns, ideally. But if I'm DSG, I am for sure letting Luminosity Gaming hit this first. You can utilize the poke of the Hwei, and then wait for the snap engage with the Wukong and the Rell to find something big. If you can stall them out with the poke and buy some time for Castle to get more items. Again, I think this Aatrox can be really big later on. As Tactical.
Wow, Tactical forced to flash and pop the ultimate as well. eXyu threatening with that Cyclone and spacing out and waiting for the spell shield to pop before sending the Cyclone.
Yeah, that was nice, but I will say Cyclone's a really significant cooldown to lose. So again, I don't think that DSG should start this. They should keep on playing with Hwei to try and poke and take more of Tactical's health bar out. And Luminosity Gaming, I think that where Tactical's at health-wise, they don't have the conditions necessary to start this themselves. So this is the stall we're talking about, where FakeGod, who does have his TP up now, but didn't, Castle's been able to bounce his way between 2 lanes, farm 2 lanes, and he's going to get almost a top inner turret just for himself in this scenario. So I think eXyu's pulling this to kind of keep LG here and keep him entertained, but just hold this little corridor parameter with the Hwei, and I think that these guys are pretty happy with this, because it's going to be a tough fight for Tactical to play. No Cyclone's big, though. I don't think you want to take the straight-up 5v5. I just think you want to continue to play for Sivir's HP.
Yep. The Otacon will reset. DSG just trying to find a window where they can punish one of the members of Luminosity, overstepping their welcome here. Huhi posturing in the spot lane, while Rahel and eXyu continue to try and control that river choke point. Tactical will have his ultimate coming back up off cooldown, so will eXyu, but still, there is no flash on this Sivir. A lot easier to punish
for resets
or disguised members.
I mean, I think that was a pretty good scenario from DSG. We're 30 seconds away from the dragon, so DSG wants to make sure they're strong for this, because you don't want to give up a Cloud Soul against any team, but I think that LG, I don't know if they're going to fight this one or not. Tactical being no flash, that is one of the most important cooldowns in the game, flash on your hyper carry. And the ability for Huhi and eXyu, who both have flash up, to find a clean execute on the Tactical, I think is almost too risky for LG to take.
Well, the Castle and Rahel both push out the mid wave together, trying to pressure and pull apart Luminosity. Castle now has a flank angle. Luminosity are going to have to give up this Banana Bush choke point here, as Luminosity... Oh, Tactical gets jumped on. Remember, no flash, and nicely done. eXyu rinse and repeat. And the Cloud Soul should be denied unless Tomio wants to get fancy with it, but I don't think that's happening.
I love how slow and methodical that was from Disguised, as they used the mid prio to get Castle to flush them out of the Banana Brush.
Yes.
And then they caught Tactical off to the side, and they didn't even need to use a flash to get on the Tactical, so Tactical just missed position, needed to connect to this team above.
Mikhail's nicely timed from Huhi. And Darkwings is going to snag Insanity with the Spiraling Despair. Severing Bolt right on top with the Maul. Decent damage. Insanity below 50% HP. FakeGod cannot get through the flank point of eXyu, trying to hold that choke point.
They're going to get mid and top off this. Yeah, they already got mid. Castle can just walk top now. So that stall, again, gets Aatrox really fed. And I think Aatrox really matters in this game, because he does make Sivir's life difficult. The sweet spots can be hard for Sivir to navigate. And if Aatrox gets big enough where he can survive the initial onslaught, there's a Mikhail's now on his team to help him get out of those glacial prisons. I think Castle getting all this gold's really going to matter.
It's been such a flip of how DSG were playing before in the previous 2 games, where Castle was not necessarily being prioritized as much in ensuring that DSG were stalling out fights just to make sure that he is getting farm for himself. But this is a signature pick for Castle. When we first heard that he was coming over to Immortals, one of the champions that he was boasting about, or that he was known for, is this Aatrox. He is showing up big so far. The KDA, yeah, it's only 2-0, but the amount of threat and pressure that he already has in this game is monumental that Luminosity have to respect.
A death stance coming up next as Tactical is dead again.
Oh, man.
Can't play that wave.
The flash cooldown was just barely about to come off cooldown, but DSG very disciplined with the timers, and yeah, that should be Otacon in their pockets. Castle is already wrapping his way back to the bottom side of the map just to ensure they have numbers.
Much better game from eXyu on the Wukong this time around, as I mean, it really was him finding Tactical's flash in transition that opened up for the last few plays to be made that have been so positive for Disguise. Taking that mid-inner turret, taking Tactical down twice now to get the Dragon 2. It has been them just picking on Tactical, and again, Tactical shouldn't be on that wave, but Luminosity Gaming also too far up around the map. Need to play for Sivir pockets before they do other stuff. As they tickle the Otacon, but take a lot of poke from Hwei in the meantime, as Darkwings is doing a good job of finding health bar advantages for his team.
Yeah, you can see that Luminosity were pressured to try and do something. They saw the Rahel push out the mid wave and anticipated he went for a quick recall. Doesn't have his third item online quite yet, but just trying to maximize his stats as fast as possible before any big objective fight. Otacon still yet to be taken. And we're past the 25-minute mark, Matt, so that means Baron is also for the taking, and that could be the objective focus instead off of a successful fight.
I know that Tactical has flashback up. If I'm Disguised, I might want to think about playing around the Otacon kind of quickly. I think that FakeGod's about to finish his Sterax, which is the item I was looking at. I think Sterax spike is really significant, considering that he's a frontliner. So I thought any fight they might take now, like, they would be quite strong. As it is pre-IE on the Sivir 2, but not going to be the case, as Disguise shifting a little bit of their power and focus up towards the Baron. And a 4K gold lead for them. I mean, it's a tense game, Raafaa. I know that you're a tennis fan. We always like to say in tiebreakers that the most important point is 5-5, because it's a win by 2 when you get to 7.
Yep.
This is game 3. You put yourself one game away from having that LCS spot for 2026 with a win here. And I want to give a lot of credit to both our teams. I think under pressure, we have had teams in select comps that I think are a little bit tougher to play with these defensive comps and identities like Disguised. But seeing LG try and commit to the poke and do a decent job of playing that one out in game 1, see Disguised do it here with the Hwei. I mean, this is not a smart comp where you just go in. You have to really be patient and pick your spots, which Disguise has done a brilliant job of so far in this one, as Castle does take the top inner. Baron is at 10k. And Tomio's split. If he goes over the wall here to get Castle.
Castle is completely isolated, and the rest of DSG cannot commit to the Baron either, so they lose out on both of the plays that they were looking for. Castle goes down, has teleport, has the death stance, but he is not going to be available for another 40 seconds. This is Luminosity's to pull the trigger.
It was Dominus and Glacial Prison used. Those are two pretty big tools. Oh, Solar Flare too. I mean, Darkwings just gets a poke for free now. I think Darkwings gets a very free setup. I think this is a little bit dangerous for LG. You're going to take a lot of damage from Darkwings and the Hwei. You should be able to do some work here. That, I don't like that ability choice with the Q.
7k, 6k, Zeyzal getting chunked out here. Darkwings and Rahel trying to do as much as they can. eXyu waiting for his moment. The Spiral Despair comes down. Big petrifying gaze flash, but eXyu strikes with the Cyclone. The Magnus Storm right on top. Luminosity Gaming getting cooked. And Rahel is still alive to free fire, but he's forced out by Tactical. Tactical sends it for the play, but it cannot save the day. Luminosity Gaming fall to DSG's hands, and Darkwings is going to chase them out.
The Wukong Rell was so good at making sure that LG just couldn't make a play. I think that Baron start was very aggressive, as Darkwings finishes up his job with a poke, takes down the jungler. They've given up the Baron because they want the Otacon, but again, your two big engage tools in the Glacial Prison and the Solar Flare were down, and you're letting Hwei poke you on Baron like that. Darkwings didn't even hit all of his abilities in the replay, but still got so much health off of LG. And then the turn, eXyu was hiding in vision the whole time, finds a perfect re-engage with Huhi, as they got everyone stuck in the middle for LG. Rahel flashes out and gets himself a clean fight along with Darkwings, who wasn't able to be focused because they couldn't get in range of the Hwei on the back half, as Tactical flashes in to try and finish up Rahel, but he goes down on his own. Probably a too aggressive play and flash from Tactical to try and trade himself out there, as Rahel lives and DSG takes everything.
And now DSG find themselves with a 7,000 staggering gold advantage over Luminosity.
No soul too. I mean, that's 7. It took the Dragon and the Otacon in that replay. I love that call to drop Baron for both of those. I think LG are tempted to play this one fast because Darkwings doesn't have TP and just showed bot.
Darkwings is going to book it. He has the power of that movement speed boost off of one of his W spells. Luminosity cannot dare to try and start up the Baron again like that. They have to wait for a pick. They need to be able to find Darkwings or Rahel. Look at how much gold Darkwings has been able to pick up. The damage that he did in that fight was completely astronomical, but that's what is going to happen when the Baron Nashor is shredding your MR and you're playing into a Hwei who can just play with range safely.
No, 100%. And now we're in the play pattern that we saw this guys use to get their last big lead, and that's tactical is down flash.
He's looking for a flank angle. I don't know if he's been spotted over the Raptor Pit wall. If he can find Rahel, he goes for it, but the Mikhails instantly cleanses it. So that's a summoner tool gone in exchange for an ultimate.
Yeah, Rahel has cleanse on CD. Good catch with the Mikhails there. Huhi has not been building a redemption. He's been building more aggressive items in the Mikhails and the Locket to try and do something early. As Castle looking for the flank. He's going to get caught out a little bit here. He's okay. He's tanking up now, like with the Death Stance and the Sundered Sky, and what's going to be a Shojin's good, but eXyu's going to find tactical.
Insanity, no flash. The Petrifying Gaze slows down the fight, but it doesn't stop it from happening. eXyu about to drop, but he's able to dash back out just at the right time and survives. And now here comes Castle to end the worlds of Luminosity Gaming. FakeGod able to double slice and dice his way back to safety. Tactical limps away from the battle, but the Skies still win it all, and they're going to look for the Baron after.
Yeah, no ult there for Castle, and still found two sweet spots to force Tactical out the back half of the fight, whereas the rest of the fight was just won by eXyu. eXyu got a lead on this Wukong, and he did not look back. He has played very well this game. It was mistakes from eXyu in game 2 that really helped turn the game back in favor from LG. Missed a smite on a grub, didn't have smite, and got a dragon stolen away from him. But he has been on point in this one, and as you highlighted earlier, Raafaa, eXyu is not one to shy away. I think that sometimes he suffers more from making too many plays instead of, not enough. And he's found the right balance in this game, as he didn't let game 2 get in his way, and eXyu has been able to find exactly what his team needed to win this game 3.
There was a clear mentality switch for eXyu going into this game. While pieces were starting to fall for Disguise as Luminosity made some decent attacks in the first 10-15 minutes of the game, eXyu continued farming up a storm. He didn't pay any attention or let any of the early advantages from Luminosity try and dissuade him from his initial game plan. Just get farmed as fast as possible, become strong as fast as possible. And the first engage we see is one that helps DSG really gain momentum in this game all the way back to the post-Rift Herald take fight. And he has not looked back ever since. 3-0-8 on the Wukong, helping DSG prop themselves up going into match point for the grand finals.
I mean, Tomio is split pushing a wave mid, which I don't think is the ideal formation. This Castle's going to go hit the Sejuani, and there's nothing really stopping Castle from just chasing Tomio. As DSG could have collapsed mid there if they had gotten out. But Castle's going to fix mid wave. DSG's going to reconnect, and this siege will continue. This is where the Hwei can be very deadly. Just the range and the... If you don't find a clean engage or a clean pocket into the Hwei, really tough to fight into the Hwei, who is going to force you to walk through so much damage on the way to find any fight you can look for now.
Darkwings Flash just about to come off cooldown, so the threat of trying to catch out this Hwei is going to be running out very soon. Rahel still has both of his summoner spells, so does Huhi. And with the Mikhails available, it seems damn near impossible for Luminosity to find a window where they can justly punish this Yunara from stepping too far forward. And even though the identity of this composition has been slightly different than what we have seen position around Rahel in previous games for Disguise, I think overall the playstyle still stays true to their strengths. Even though Castle's not on a tank map, he's putting a lot of pressure on the front line, forcing Luminosity to respond to him, and it's all about creating space for your backline to thrive.
And he's at a 9 break point now where he's not going to be messed with for the rest of the game. I mean, you got Sterax, Death Stance, and a Shojin on Aatrox. You're a very, very happy camper. Insanity, too, is just not been able to keep up with the farm this game. It's kind of tough with the Hwei and having to be dragged around the map now that this guy's ahead, but only 3 items on the Cassiopeia. I mean, Rylewise can maybe help close the gap or help with that move speed diff you can create between Sivir and Rylewise now on Cassio, but I don't think it's enough. And again, that's where walking through Aatrox, walking through Hwei, This was a very short-range comp showing early on from LG with the Sivir, Renekton, and Sejuani. And I love the thematic counter or just answer that Disguised has. Like, even Hwei blind, you're going to find so much value into what was already showing from LG, right? Like, you're going to get something from that pick. Just, I think this was the game, even without Cassio showing, to be like, okay, we're against a Sivir and then Leona, Sejuani, Renekton. Like, we found the champion that builds Torch, Leandries, and Void, and is very happy with all that. That is the Hwei game. And to take that away from Insanity 2 was quite big as eXyu. Okay.
Crazy poise from both teams to not expend any summoner spells or ultimates on that face chuck, as eXyu does lose about a third of his HP, nearly 50%. Gonna take this time to quickly recall since there are no objectives to play for the next 2 minutes.
That quiet time on the map. It's been a lot of gold going over to Disguise, as I think Disguise wants to wrap it up now. Rahel was full build, and Sivir can still be scary later on. Again, we've seen Tactical make some errors and be punished heavily in this game. I think that Disguise has had the right approach into Sivir, and how can we make it tough for Sivir to auto-attack? There is still the world where if Sivir can auto-attack, she is a hyper carry that can carry these fights. As Disguise, they have a big lead. It's tough to overcome a 10k gold lead, but you got to imagine that if LG were to do it, it's got to be off the back of Tactical on this Sivir.
And Luminosity have to be able to create the space necessary so that Tactical can just, without abandon, fire off multiple ricochet casts and spread that damage across the entire squad of DSG. As Luminosity have to deal with the encroaching vision line into their base through the top side of the map. They have one Death Brush set up with double control wards just to ensure proper vision is established. DSG will not push past that line, but they don't need to. They're just waiting for the Baron spawn in the next 40 seconds. And we'll see if Luminosity can find anything, a miracle, to bring this themselves back into this game.
Rahel taking the red buffs. The team has the global double buffs, and I think that's a big advantage here for DSG if they get both, which they do. At a good timer, too. I mean, Baron's about to spawn. You take that red buff, it's just shifting everything up to the top side now, and we'll see how liberal DSG wants to be when it comes to playing around this Baron.
Castle has CP. He's going to go maybe faint towards the top side of the map where a wave is crashing into that inhibitor tower. Castle is holding his position so that he can look for the flank over the wall.
I think it's kill this wave and then go. eXyu's going to clear it. And yeah, Rahel starting it. Darkwings can manage this wave on his own, as Huhi Castle will help hold the line. And they're going to try their best to hold that control ward, and Baron's just going to fall. LG cannot get there.
They get a blue ward right on top of it. Luminosity cannot fire and engage fast enough, as FakeGod has isolated Castle, but he just pops the World Ender. Petrifying Gaze onto two people. Huhi is stunned where he stands. Cannot advance forward. eXyu sends it to the right side flank. FakeGod holding the line so that Tactical can continuously fire Ricochet blades off, but Insanity's forced out of the fight with the flash. FakeGod forced to run. Tactical gets dropped again. DSG hunting for the remaining members, and the flash infernal chains allows Castle to slay Insanity where he stands. DSG have taken nearly every member from Luminosity Gaming, and they will move to match point.
I said Rahel was the best player in this tournament. He completely changed the trajectory of DSG this year, and his hyper carry is greater than Tactical's, as when Tactical was down flash, DSG did a brilliant job of punishing, as Rahel and DSG stands tall as they win that game 3.
And DSG are now one game away from successfully defending their spot in Tier 1. One game away from LCS 2026. And for Luminosity Gaming, backs are against the wall. No more second chances. No more do-overs can be afforded. Luminosity, the culmination of their year, is now on the line. Being back-to-back NACAL champions will not matter if they cannot recover from this and take us to a Game 5 against DSG.
I want to give DSG a lot of credit for that draft, a lot of credit for how they played that out. They look to be a team on the same page today, and we saw another game where I felt like scaling contributed more to the 25-minute plus identity we've seen from DSG. But that was another game where it gets 20 plus. DSG can play some defense. They played quite well. They scaled up well. They played the team fights very well. As Tactical, I think, just consistently punished throughout that game, for me, was the story. Some errors from Tactical, but also have to credit DSG with some good play. eXyu had a fantastic game, was definitely the MVP of that one for me.
Absolutely. It was the mentality switch from game 2, being able to decrease the amount of volatility he was bringing to that early game, and just recognizing, I don't need to try and push the game faster than what the game needs to be. Letting the game come to him, farming up a storm, and allowing himself and the rest of DSG to strike when the moment needed him to. But that is game 3, done and dusted. We move to game 4. It is match point for Disguise. Can they close out this series, or can Luminosity bring us to Silver Scrapes? We'll find out right after this break.